Joe from Slingmods. Welcome to another easy to follow install video. Today we have our heat and sound control kit by DEI, available for the 2015 and 2016 Polaris Slingshot. If you've driven your Slingshot for any length of time, you've probably noticed that the cabin temps can get pretty high. This 11-piece kit minimizes heat and noise by shielding several areas around the muffler, floor pan, transmission tunnel, and center console. Once installed, we'll have a much cooler and quieter Slingshot. So without further delay, let's get started.
Before we start installing any material, let's take a look at how things come packaged in the kit. There's the main heat shield, 2 pieces for the engine bay to be installed on the rocker panel, 2 pieces of material for the passenger side footwell area, 5 pieces for the transmission tunnel, and 1 piece to go behind the sound system's head unit, 1 roll of insulating tape, and finally the included hardware and DEI beer fridge sticker with a set of written instructions. In case you're in La La Land not paying attention, I'm going to read this to you out loud. Before you begin, you'll need to have the Slingshot lifted off of the ground using the factory jack points front and rear. This information is easy to find in the owner's manual. In addition, this kit uses adhesive backing. You'll need to have every area you're working on as clean and dry as possible. This is how the main heat shield will be installed. Make sure this side faces the muffler. You'll notice these small brackets on the other side. Those need to face your frame rails. The first thing that we're going to do is remove these 2 plastic pins. Let's take a closer look. Both pins are accessible under the glove box on the passenger side. We're going to be removing these 2 pins in the middle. Using a flat blade screwdriver, pry out the center of the pin and they'll simply pull out. Now remove these 4 bolts securing the rocker panel. Then, using the same T40 torque bit, remove this top bolt. Removing those bolts gave us enough room to install our heat reduction material. The material is made partly of metal, so I'm wearing gloves, and I'm also wearing eye protection. I have aftermarket exhaust installed on my Slingshot, but if you're running the factory exhaust, you're going to need to remove a spring that's located on this hanger using a spring puller tool. I've sort of folded the material so that I could manipulate it into place. You're going to have to do this too, but don't worry, the material will bend right back into place. You're going to have to manhandle it and pull its hair a little bit. I had to pull the material back out again because I realized this section of the material does not clear the exhaust tip on my aftermarket exhaust. So I modified it. If you're running the factory exhaust, you can obviously skip this step altogether. Further, I'm not recommending that anyone do this because you'll lose one of the clamps intended to secure the product. I'm simply doing this so that I can still continue to show the install, and if it works well enough to secure the product, those of you who are running an aftermarket exhaust have this option, but it's at your own risk, of course. Now that the material is in place, take the 2 included Phillips head bolts and fender washers and place them through the holes of the material on top and then through the holes in the plastic on the Slingshot. Here's a closer view of what it looks like from the outside. And here's what it looks like from the inside. Now take the other 2 fender washers and locking nuts and get them started onto the ends of the bolts by hand. Now, while holding the bolts in place with a Phillips head screwdriver in your right hand, reach through and tighten each bolt with an 11mm socket and ratchet with your left hand. I have short little T-Rex arms and I can do it, so you shouldn't have any problem reaching it. This is officially called the reach around technique. Notice this little bracket at the bottom. If you didn't modify your material, you'll have two to install exactly the same way. Feed the included hose clamp through the bracket and then around your frame rail and tighten it down. Here's what it'll look like installed. Again, the tip of the aftermarket muffler didn't leave me enough clearance for the material and the second clamp. But even though I'm only using one clamp, everything feels pretty secure. Here's a closer look behind the muffler so that you can see there's adequate space between the muffler and the material. Let's install the two pieces on the rocker panel labeled engine bay area. Again, this product is adhesive, so be sure that the mounting area is very clean and dry. We're going to install the bigger piece of material first. Just for reference, this is how the material will fit. Per the instructions, I'm going to score and peel away a small portion of the protective coating so that only a small piece of the adhesive is exposed, making the install easier. I'm going to install the material keeping the adhesive away from everything until I have it lined up properly. Then once I adhere that side, I'll peel away the rest of the protective coating and secure the rest. Now I'm going to score and remove the protective coating on the smaller piece and install it just to the left of the larger piece.
This is not a drill.
Now I'm going to seal all the edges of the material with our insulation tape.
Is that all you got? Let's begin.
There are 6 pieces of material in this package, but we're only going to install 5 in the transmission tunnel. This piece that you see up front labeled center console behind radio is going to be installed later in a different area. Here are the 2 pieces out of that package that install on the passenger side of the transmission tunnel. There's also a third piece that installs in that area, but it's in a different package and we're going to install that a little bit later. Just for reference, this is how the 2 pieces will look once installed. Now that you've seen where they go, let's remove the protective coating from the back and install them. Per the instructions, I'm going to score and peel away a small portion of the protective coating again so that I can make the install easier. I'm going to peel away the portion closest to the engine. Be careful not to get hung up anywhere with the adhesive before you have the material in place. Once the piece is in place, go ahead and remove the second half of that backing. Now simply remove the backing and install the second piece. There are going to be 3 pieces on the driver's side, and just for reference again, let's take a look at where they install. This time I decided to remove the entire piece of backing rather than scoring a small piece. I just wanted to see how much more difficult it would be. It in fact was a little bit more difficult, but it was still very doable. Now we're going to install both pieces of material for the passenger side footwell. Using the exhaust for reference, this plastic panel is the passenger side footwell. At the bottom of that panel you'll find two plastic tabs located here and here. Starting at the end of the material with the two square cutouts, peel back a small section of the protective backing. Then, like Ron Jeremy's first audition into amateur porn, slide the material up behind the plastic until the tabs line up with the square holes. Then push the factory floor pan bolts through the pre-cut holes in the material. Tighten the included washers and locking nuts onto the factory floor pan bolts. We're going to install the smaller piece of material next to the passenger side transmission tunnel pieces that we installed earlier. Here are the two pieces we installed earlier on the passenger side. This piece is going to go right in front of them, closer to the engine. Simply remove the protective backing and carefully secure it into place. Last but not least, we're going to install the piece of material designed to go behind the head unit of the sound system. Since I have a base model with this storage compartment rather than a head unit, I'm just going to place it behind that instead. Be sure that the material is propped up and that the shiny side is facing the engine. Then simply reinstall your head unit or your storage compartment. Here's a heads up to folks with a base model. After reinstalling my storage compartment, I went to the firewall and checked to see how well that piece of material was held in place. It was looser than a thrift store turtleneck, so I removed it until I find a better way to secure it. You could probably tape it. I'm just thinking that this piece of material was designed specifically for those models that have sound systems.
Alright guys, that's how you install the full heat and noise control kit. Get yours just in time for summer by going to slingmods.com. Speaking of summer, be sure to check out the full review of our new line of Top Gear sunglasses. They were designed specifically for the driving enthusiast.
Come on, say it, whoa. Come on, say it.